Welcome back to another episode of the Innovate on Purpose podcast, hosted by Matt Muller,
best-selling author of The Mindful Innovator and Rethink Retail's top retail expert.
We help retail leaders find clarity so they can grow their businesses purposefully.
We will uncover mindful tips, innovative solutions, and purposeful leadership advice and strategies that you can apply immediately to your retail innovation. Are you ready to innovate on purpose?
Hey, before we jump into the episode today, I just wanted to say thank you for hitting the play button. You being here fires me up, and I cannot wait to share with you the insights that are going to make a difference in your business. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and leave a review so I can reach as many retail leaders as possible. They too need to hear this. Okay, let's do it. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming back to another episode here of the Innovate on Purpose podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. We're going to take it in a different route today. So when we think about innovation and when we're doing this as retail leaders in our markets, we much likely go with the practical road of how do we tangibly do these things? How do we create a structure and a strategy to get to our goals that we want to get to? But today, we're going to take a different path. We're going to learn how to innovate with the secrets of a sultan. And to do that, we have a very special guest, Jeff Buehner, coming in today to share with us his knowledge and his insights on what he has learned from a very special person that has some ancient secrets that can unlock some amazing innovation and amazing opportunities within your own life. So, Jeff, I wanted to welcome you to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Matt, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am so inspired by the topic that you're talking about, and I'm really just energized about sharing this with the audience today. So could you just give a little bit of a teaser to the audience? What should they expect to learn today?
Well, listen, if you're here, it's probably because you want something or more of something, whether that's more money, better health, better relationships, more love on your terms. You want something. And all of those things you want are already out there. Like if you're looking for the perfect sweetheart, he or she is out there and they're looking for you as hard as you're looking for them. But the trick is to get your paths to cross, to get them to come to you. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in a way that's going to go counterintuitive to everything you've been trained and taught, or trained to do and taught to do. So open your mind just a little bit. I've got a great story to tell you.
All right, awesome. I can't wait to hear more about it. When we think about innovation, when we're out in the world trying to create something new, we're chasing, right? We're always chasing the shiny objects and say, how do we apply AI to our stores? How do we create new products that consumers are going to buy? And we're keep on chasing. But it's interesting, like you mentioned, how do we get paths to cross? How do we get consumers to cross our paths? Or how do we get the innovation to come to us? So I'm really curious to see how we can kind of start to kind of just shift reality a little bit. So that's going to be pretty neat. But before we dig into the book, which we're going to share with the audience here, is just tell me a little bit more about you, Jeff, and what you do.
Well, I'm a land developer. That's what I've done for many, many years. And then recently, and I say recently, the last 3 years, I've been coaching people on this gift that came to me and has provided me a magical life for the last 30 years. I'm finally getting around to sharing that with the world. Now, I've shared it with others, but up to the point where I started doing these podcast interviews and other things, maybe 100 people. And then I got ready to retire to my farm in Belize, and I got the strong impression that I couldn't do that until I had shared this with thousands, maybe even millions of people. So that's what I'm doing now.
Well, that's awesome. So land developer now turned into this inspirational guru that's going to help people out with some secrets of a sultan. So the name of your book, Jeff, remind me, what's the name of the book?
The Sultan's Seven Secrets.
So it's The Sultan's Seven Secrets.
Lots
That's
of S's
amazing.
in there.
There is. And where can people find that book?
So it's on Amazon for $19. You can buy it there, or you can go to Sultan's Seven Secrets. That's the number seven, sultan7secrets.com, and download the audio version of the book absolutely free. And that's maybe the best, easiest way to quickly get up to date on the basics of what I'm going to be talking about today.
Okay, awesome. I'll put that in the show notes too, so this way everyone can just click on that and get to that space. That's an amazing deal, free. I always love free, so I definitely would encourage people to do that. But let's talk about the book now. Let's dive into it. So, seven secrets. I guess before we get into the secrets, though, where did this information? How did this information get into your hands?
Well, picture me 30 years ago as a concrete contractor, standing there in my rubber boots, with my bucket of tools and trowels. And I was working for a very wealthy couple, and they were doing and just seemed to have everything I wanted, but I could see no way on earth for me to get to where they were. Now, they were special in that they would talk to us. I worked on hundreds of jobs, and the people who owned the properties, they didn't come out and talk to us. They'd stay in the house or let us do our work. But these two talked to us, and they were elegant, wonderful people. Now, sadly, I did something while talking to the lady that I shouldn't have done, and that's I complained. And if you've ever been a manual laborer, you maybe can relate to this. The conversation started out positive enough, but it devolved into me telling that old story about how I work harder than anybody else. I work harder than all of my friends, but they're all doing better than me financially. And right in the middle of that conversation, she turned around and left. She just walked away without a word. And I was so embarrassed. I don't know if you can imagine how embarrassed, because here's my idol and, everything I want to be, and I just blew it.
She just walked away and left. Wow. So, why did she walk away and leave?
Well, she returned a few minutes later with a stack of papers that I refer to now as a manuscript. But at the time, it was just a stack of papers. And she handed it to me and said, "Read this tonight and bring it back to me tomorrow morning." Now, I got to tell you, Matt, she didn't have any inkling of what my life was, but I got up at 5:30 every morning. I was on the job site by 6:45 at the latest. My crew would go home at 5, but not me. That's when I went out selling new jobs, collecting money, picking up things for the next day. And so I literally was not going to read her manuscript. The whole time I was just thinking of an excuse that I could give her in the morning when I handed the manuscript back. But I ended up reading one page, the first page, and then I stayed up all night, tired as I was, and read the whole thing and took copious notes.
Oh, wow.
And we'll jump into why in a minute, but this manuscript told the story of a real man in history named Sultan Musa of Mali. He's reported to be at least one of the richest men to ever live. And to put that into perspective, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Well, listen, combine their wealth, put it together, and you come close to Sultan Musa of Mali, but you don't catch him, even though he lived in the 1300s in West Africa. So this is quite a guy. I had never heard of him before. And in his writings, there's something that he refers to as the language of the gods. And he says, anything you say in this language, the world will obey your command. So here I am, frustrated, needing my life to change. I wasn't just frustrated on the financial level either. I had no free time. I wasn't able to be a good father or a good husband. I didn't do anything with the kids. I never took vacations, never, I mean, rarely took my wife out. She was getting frustrated with our lifestyle. And there were other things too, I won't go into them all, but frustrated sums up my life, my mindset at the time. And then I read this: whatever you say in this language, the world obeys your commands. And there it was in black and white, how to speak the language of the gods. And I'm going to tell you, Matt, the second I read it, I knew it was true. I knew that's how it worked. But I was a little bit afraid to even do it.
So how did
Because,
you know? I'm sorry, Jeff, but how
go
did you
ahead.
know that this was like this was true? Like, because I could imagine a lot of us would read it, and I'm sure a lot of people listening right now, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So I was a pretty skeptical person at the time anyway, but look, I had 33 years of experience. And so you can look back on those, on your life, and there are times when things just fall into place. They work out. And maybe after a long period of them not working out, where you were trying and trying and trying, and it never worked. And then the second you quit trying, boom, you find your wife, or you find a great business comes to you. It was basically just codified things that I had already experienced in life. Here they were codified. Now, I got to back up, Matt, and tell you one little thing that where this came from. So, Musa's life is incredibly interesting. He started out dirt poor. He had to steal food just to stay alive. His father died when he was very young, and he turned into a pretty good thief. And at the age of 12, he fell in with an older thief who had planned out this incredible heist and promised little 12-year-old Musa 50% of the loot. Now, of course, once they pulled it off, the older thief didn't give him his 50%. In fact, locked him in a cave, sealed the entrance of this cave that Musa was in, and left him to die. And he did die. He had a near-death experience. And this is incredible. He documents everything he learned from this near-death experience, in which he met what he called a man made of light and love. And this man made of light and love basically showed him how life works, how we work, what makes you, you, and me, and our personalities different, but that people can count on you acting a certain way in any given situation. And they can act on me, or they can count on me acting differently in that same situation. Why? Now, of course, you're going to say experience, and that is part of it, but it goes much deeper than that. There is a mechanism that controls and steers your life. And anything this mechanism believes to be true about you, that is the way it's going to be. You can take it to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this mechanism he called the veiled mind. Well, you and I are familiar with the concept of a subconscious mind, so we can relate to this. You have two bodies. You've got a physical body and then a spirit body. And the only thing that happens at death is that spirit body pops out of or launches out of your physical body. And that's why, 1 minute there's your loved one talking to you, and maybe they're getting, weakened, but they're still talking, they're alive. And then there's that split second where they're gone. And that physical body is no more alive. And it's worth nothing. You got to take care of it pretty quick because it's starting to decompose. So he learned that after he left his physical body, it was still back in the cave, dead and worthless, he was still very much alive. In fact, more so. He was free. He could think and see things and move in a way that he couldn't when he was in his physical body. Well, you have the same thing going on with your mind. You have your conscious mind, and that's the part of you that you think of as you. But then you have this veiled mind, and it's the one really running the show. You don't think about breathing, you don't think about your heart beating. Your veiled mind is taking care of all of that. But much further beyond that, it's dictating the role you're dedicated to. You're just in character, dedicated to a role. That's all any of us are doing. We're just playing a role. And your role can change, and it has changed, and it could change drastically, and you would just pick up and start doing your best in that new role. So I don't want to get too far into that. Read the book for that part.
All right.
But you have this veiled mind, and anything it believes about you, it will make true in your physical realm.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So our
that leads
subconscious
us,
thoughts are controlling our reality.
correct. Like you can't believe. Like
Mhm.
it makes you seek out certain things and find certain things and move towards certain things, but it also makes you repel other things.
Mhm.
So $1 million ideas can be all around you, but if your subconscious mind believes that you're supposed to struggle, you're supposed to work hard for your money, you're going to be poor, you'll never see or take advantage of those opportunities. But the guy right next to you will, because
Mhm.
he's programmed to look for him, find him. So I'll get more into this in a minute.
Okay.
But I want to, this brings us to a question that I want to answer. And that is, Matt, who told your veiled mind what to believe about you?
It's a great question. I feel like for me, a lot of the things that happen when you're younger
Mhm.
start to cause you to have beliefs, and those beliefs set you up
Absolutely.
for your future.
All right. So here's another question. Things
All
that
right,
happened in your past. So there's you, and there's do you have a brother,
sister.
sister?
Yeah,
You got a sister?
sister.
Okay, so there she is right next to you. You have the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
But you come out of that experience with a very deep core belief based on that situation that happened, and your sister doesn't, or she
Mm-hmm.
has a different belief that comes out of that. You both
Absolutely.
watched your parents interact. You have a subconscious belief about how you're going to be treated in a relationship. She's got a different subconscious belief about how she's going to be treated in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? All right, I'm going to answer this. I'm not going to
Okay.
keep, baiting you with
Give me a
questions. I'm just
quiz.
going to tell you. Yeah, I hate those kind of quizzes anyway. So you are the one telling your subconscious mind what to believe about you
Mm-hmm.
in the language of feelings. Now, don't gloss over that. Don't say, "Oh yeah, this is." I've heard like that, Hicks lady talk about you got to get in the feelings place. No, this is much deeper than that. You can lie your head off with the words that come out of your mouth. Your subconscious mind doesn't listen to those. It knows all about them. It's even feeding you thoughts and words, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not programmed by the words that come out of your mouth. It doesn't believe them. Same with your thoughts. You can think things that are so scattered and so wrong that you can't even keep them straight. Your subconscious mind doesn't care about your thoughts. It feeds them to you, it knows them all, but it doesn't obey your thoughts or your words.
Mm-hmm.
This brings us to the language of feelings. Feelings are always true. Now, you can lie about them. Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. When you're sad and sick inside, Your subconscious mind is listening to the sad and sick, not what you say about it, not what you even try to think in that moment. It listens to your feelings, believes every single one of them, and then its number one job is to keep your life congruent with your predominant feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Oh, I'll throw in one thing here that's really interesting. Sultan Musa of Mali was the author of the fairy tale Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. And he embedded the secrets he learned from the man made of light into this fairy tale. And we're going to go over them in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to preserve his life. Matt, in the 1300s in West Africa, you didn't just come out one day and say, hey, I died, but then I came back to life. And while I was out of my body, I met God, and he taught me all kinds of things that our learned scholars know nothing about.
Yeah,
That's an easy way. Yeah, you can end up dead, not just in trouble, dead.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really cool. So it's a fictional story, basically fairy tale that he turned it into to kind of keep those insights alive. That's really neat. Yeah.
Now I'm going to go through the three main elements of that fairy tale and tell you what each one represents. And then we can talk about how do you use this information? How do you change your life with this? All right, number one, the first element, you have Aladdin. Now, that wasn't his original name, but I'm not going to get into that. Antoine Gallant changed his name. The original basically meant child of God.
Mm-hmm.
He changed it to Aladdin. I've asked all kinds of people who speak Arabic, and they say, yeah, Aladdin doesn't mean anything. But the original means child of God. So Antoine Gallant, who published the story, changed it, but doesn't matter for our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Aladdin represents you and me. It represents the conscious mind, that part of us that we think of as, me, the part that cares about what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this all-powerful genie who can get you anything you want if you know how to summon it and command it in the only language it obeys. That represents your veiled mind or your subconscious mind.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't care what you command it. You can command it to, have my house burn up, and it'll just do it. It'll follow your commands. But remember, only in one language. So now that brings us to the best part of the story, the magic lamp. That changes everything for Aladdin. Changed everything for Sultan Musa of Mali, who went from being dirt poor to being fantastically wealthy. But he wasn't just wealthy. I mean, this guy had an unbelievable life of service and kindness and benevolence. But it's the magic lamp that changed it all. The magic lamp represents some knowledge, some understanding, and it represents the language of the gods. Anything you say in this language, remember, the world obeys your commands. Well, how does it do that? Your inner genie sees to it. This language that I've already told you is feelings, not words, not thoughts, feelings, is the language that is always taking place between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind believes it, believes that language, and will make your life congruent. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question, and this isn't like one of those weird quizzes that I know the answer to and you don't, and I'm just being a jerk. But this is, if it's true that your subconscious mind will keep your life congruent with your predominant feelings, and I promise you it is, here's the question. When is the last time you felt what it's like to be fabulously wealthy, to be financially secure and safe? When's the last time you felt loved on your terms? like loved the way you want to be loved and respected the way you want to be respected. When's the last time you felt absolutely healthy, vibrant, fit, strong, energetic? Now, if the answer to those questions is, well, geez, Jeff, it's been a long time, or worse, never, I've never felt what it's like to be fabulously wealthy. You cannot expect your inner genie to create a life for you that you have never commanded it to create in the only language it believes, listens to, and obeys.
The feelings.
Feelings.
That makes total
So,
sense. I mean, when we think about manifestation, we hear that quite often. It's not about just the thought, but it's, making sure that you feel it. So if you want to feel, if you want success, if you want wealth, you need to feel the wealth and act
right.
as if it's already here.
Manifesting coaches do major damage. And
Mhm.
what they do is they get that part right. You
Okay.
got to
What
think
do they mess
about
up?
things that get you excited,
Mhm.
and then you'll feel good about them, but then they tell you to quickly look to the physical world, and you start thinking, how could that ever happen? My situation is such a mess. I could never get there. Or, how come it hasn't showed up yet? As soon as you do that, you cut the legs out from under it, because when you're focused on reality, how are you feeling? Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to look somewhere else to create these feelings. Matt, I want to give you just a taste because I've thrown out, some stuff, and people are probably thinking, yeah, but what's the possibility with this? Can I really use it? Is it really worth anything? So I'm going to give you a taste of what happened to me within an 8-month period of time once I started speaking this language of the gods. So I told you I was a concrete contractor. I made about 60 to 80,000 a year, and I could live on that as long as not too many things went wrong. But of course, a lot of things did go wrong. But within 8 months of learning to speak this language, I was making 3 times that amount every single month, not in a year, a month, in a business that just came to me, just fell into my lap. Now, there was effort and work involved, but we'll talk about that in a minute. It was all effort and work that lined up with the life of my dreams. So it was fun, fulfilling. Everything I did to get that business going and to keep it going was a riot because it fit my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how powerful this is. I actually, at one point, Matt, I had so much money coming in from different ways that I used the language of the gods to slow it down a little bit. It was just too much,
A
too
great problem to have.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good problem to have, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So what was the
But
business that fell into your lap?
well, it happened to be a wholesale vending supply business. Now, I had been in the business of placing vending machines, one at a time in nice upscale restaurants. And that was a great business, but to the tune of like $2,400 a month. Once I started the wholesale business and started teaching people who wanted to do what I was doing at the $2,400 a month level, we were making millions a month. So, I mean, it was just like crazy, crazy money.
So I'd like to just dig into that a little bit then. It's how did you go from, doing the 2,400 per machine on your own to then using feelings and these 7 secrets to turn it into this $1 million business?
All right, let's jump into that. So here's exactly what I did. And then I'm going to tell you a fun little story that's in the book, but your
Okay, cool.
readers haven't read the book, so I'm going to tell it. So here I am. I'm a concrete contractor, and on the side, I'm putting out these vending machines. And like I said, I did all right financially because I had the extra $2,400 a month. Plus, I was making good money in California pouring concrete. And I'd only put the machines out on rainy days when I couldn't pour. So I had these two things going. But it still wasn't enough to buy a home in California. You needed 20% down, and the cheapest home was like 400 grand. It was just like I was not getting ahead financially. And so I was frustrated clear back then. And then we moved to Salt Lake City, and I'm still doing the same thing minus the vending, because now, I had a brother who was doing it around that Salt Lake area. I didn't want to compete with him. Would have been hard to compete with him anyway. He'd been doing it for years and got all the best locations. So now I'm just doing concrete. And then I come across this manuscript and I start speaking the language of the gods. So I gave up all of that vending stuff because I was thinking of it in terms of, placing machines. So when I changed my mindset about money, I didn't try to identify how this new lifestyle and this new money and this new business would come to me, or what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
I just imagined having the perfect business. And I wrote down an amount. I remember the first amount I wrote down, because of course I tried on, 300 million. Then I couldn't feel that. So 100 million, no, still not. 1 million, no, I couldn't feel it. So now I'm down to $86,000 in the bank, all mine, taxes paid. It's all mine. Doesn't need to go to bills. That's my money.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that down on a dream sheet. And then I started thinking about, if I had the perfect career, what would I be doing? And of course, no more rubber boots and dirty concrete clothes. I saw myself as a young entrepreneur on the go. I started putting pictures on my dream sheets that represented that. A guy in a business suit, a nice car instead of my old dirty work truck, like a small Mercedes Benz. And pretty soon I had 5 things, 5 dreams, if you will, that I had tried on other dreams and now percolated it down to the 5 perfect things for me: the right amount of money, the right car, the right lifestyle. And I called that my magnificent obsession. Now, of course, this changes over time because, well, I'll talk about the $86,000 and how fast I blew past that, but it was the right number for the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then all I did was imagine that that's the way it was right now. I have my 86,000 in the bank. I am driving my Mercedes Benz. I'm in a business suit. I'm going to a business meeting. I'm going to tell you one thing here that leads into this other story I promised to tell. It'll set it up a little bit. When you try to imagine yourself living a different life and having things be differently, like if you're in a bad marriage and you try to imagine that relationship being good, it's going to be hard at first. And you're going to have to learn some tricks and techniques and hacks on how to use your imagination to generate the right feelings in the face of and in defiance of reality, because that's what I teach people to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it. And at first, it's clumsy and it's hard, and you're trying to imagine a better situation. But here's what will happen if you stay with it. All of the sudden, a movie is going to break forth in your mind. And it's going to take off kind of without you. You're going to see yourself doing things and having things and enjoying experiences that you're not putting effort into imagining. When that happens, it's because your subconscious mind just bought into that dream. It loves this game, by the way. It loves the pretend everything is wonderful game. I mean, think back to your childhood. That's all you did from morning till night until you were taught to quit doing it, right?
Who said I stopped?
Right. That teacher with the ruler made sure you quit doing it at some point.
Right.
But as this movie breaks forth, your subconscious mind has bought into this game, and now it's showing you possibilities. It's showing you what you could do with your life. Once that happens, this is where the magic kicks in. So now I'm going to tell you about this story. One of the things I imagined when I thought about the perfect career was all of a sudden this movie would break forth of me standing in front of a group of very important people. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know anything about them other than if they buy my pitch, if they go with what I'm pitching, I'm loaded. I'm making a ton of money. Now, one of the weird things about this movie that would take off in my mind as I would think about this was that there was this giant table between me and them, this giant work table, conference table. And I had never in my life seen anything that big. So it was like, where did that come from? But I just accepted it as this great daydream that I would have, and I loved, and I'd run it every single day of me pitching something, I didn't know what, to people, I didn't know who, but I knew if they said yes, I'm rich. And at the end of my presentation in this movie, they all jumped to their feet, clapping and cheering. It wasn't just a yes, it's a resounding, this is so cool. Give it to us. 8 months later, from the time I started running this daydream in my mind, and I ran it every day because it was fun, right? It's just exciting. It's great. I get invited to a meeting. Now, there's some things about, that happened before that, and my new business partner set up this meeting with the marketing team from this giant company that sold home-based businesses to people. And unbeknownst to me, totally behind the scenes, they were being sued or kind of chased by the FTC, I believe it was, because they were kind of being accused of just selling blue sky information. And they needed a hard product, something people could put their hands on and touch that generated income. So I get invited to this meeting, and I brought one of my little vending machines because that's what I was going to talk about as our home-based business. And my wife had sewn a cloak and covered it, so it had this black cloak over it so people couldn't see what it was until I was ready to unveil it. And the first thing that happens, there's this huge group of people, the marketing group, it's like 40 people. And the first guy, I was to go third. So the first guy gets up, he starts pitching his business plan, and they rip him to shreds. I mean, they're just asking him these hard questions. His answers are no good. Within like minutes, maybe not even one full minute, this guy is invited to leave, and he packs up all his stuff awkwardly and makes an exit. The second guy gets up. Same thing happens to him. He gets shredded. Just like,
oh boy.
Oh yeah, put through the buzzsaw, just he leaves all dejected, packing up his stuff with a red face, leaves.
So how are you feeling in that moment?
Yeah. So right then I'm thinking, I got to get out of here. I got to find a way to get out of this presentation. I don't want that treatment. And right then the president says, let's take a 15-minute bathroom break, and then we'll see what Mr. Buehner has to tell us. So everyone leaves the room, and there's the exit door. So I grab my little vending machine and all my stuff, and I start heading for that door. But Matt, for 8 months, I'd been running this daydream in my mind. I reached back and touched my dream sheet that I always had in my back pocket. I didn't have to open it, didn't have to take it out. I knew what's on that thing. I turned around and went and sat back down. And I thought, listen, the vending machine was good for me at that time in my life. That extra $2,400 was a big deal to us. And I'm going to get up and pitch this with passion and excitement and tell the truth. And if they don't like it, who gives a crap? So be it. And that's what I did. And at the end of my presentation, in real life, not my imagination, they jumped up and clapped and cheered. and I had a new business with a new fun business partner, and I had to hold on to the saddle horn. That thing took off. And within a couple of years, my buddy and I are splitting up hundreds of thousands of dollars every month.
Oh wow, that's amazing, Jeff. You stayed with it. You kept the feeling going, and I love like the dream sheet in your back pocket where it's just like that reminder to kind of just tap back into that feeling of that this is going to happen. I mean,
Right.
8 months of vision, like imagining it and feeling it. So that's pretty impressive. And I'm glad you made it through the buzzsaw.
Here's the point to take away from that.
Mhm.
For the 8 months I was seeing it and feeling it, my subconscious mind was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring my life into congruency with my feelings about money that had changed drastically. And there was a period of time where I got this, what I call nudges. So it's like a feeling to call my old friend who I hadn't seen for 10 years, Brian. And of course, I didn't. On the first one, I was busy pouring concrete, doing my thing. I didn't call Brian. The next day, I get the same impression, call Brian. I don't. After about 10 of those, I'm thinking, geez, I have this strong feeling to call Brian. I really should call him. When things quiet down, maybe on the next holiday, I'll give Brian a call. I don't. One day, I'm having lunch with my crew, and there in the corner is Brian's wife. I hadn't seen her for 10 years. Normally, I would have slipped out the back because I didn't like people I had known from my past seeing me in my old work clothes, all filthy, dirty. But because of this dream and the impression to talk to Brian, I went over and talked to her. I just said, hey, I'd really love to, touch bases with Brian. And she gave me his current number. And then I called him because I knew she was going to go home and tell him that I said I'd call.
Yeah.
That's how Brian and I got together. And it was like on the third or fourth lunch get together where we were talking about businesses we could do, where he was saying how frustrated his company was because they were getting chased by the FTC. And it just fell into place where I told him about vending. He got really excited. And that's how the whole thing, he said, look, would you be willing to come and do a presentation for the marketing group? I'll set it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know what I was getting into, but how did that really get set up? My veiled mind started with impressions, promptings, instincts to call this old friend. And they never let up until that meeting happened. And more meetings
It created that synchronicity for you because you weren't making it happen on the conscious level. So
right.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is generating, these great daydreams, feeling what it would be like to have a great career, lots of money, free time, great partner, fun, everything. My Mercedes-Benz. I'm just feeling this and getting lost in daydreams.
Yeah.
My
So
subconscious
now you come
mind.
out of the daydream.
What's that?
Sorry, Jeff. You come out of this daydream, and now you get back into reality. You're pouring concrete. Like, how do you keep those feelings going when you're not daydreaming?
All right. Here's an answer you're not going to expect. You don't come out of the daydream. So once I got my magnificent obsession, I just stayed in it. So here I am, setting forms, pouring concrete. What's going on in my psyche? I'm lost in the daydream of having tons of money, having the perfect career. And like a lot of things you do, you can wash the dishes without focusing your mind on washing the dishes. You can go on autopilot and you could go into a daydream of washing those dishes from your second home in Hawaii. Or they don't even have to be dishes. They can be something you're doing that is the perfect business for you and you're making plenty of money. And if you do this with any effort, your subconscious mind will take it and run. And once it does, watch out, because that's when it has bought into it and it's going to go to work to find things that match the feelings you're generating during those daydreams. And we can basically leave it there. But what I do all day long is teach people the techniques, the games, the skills that allow you to stay in that daydream, to stay in those feelings in defiance of what's going on in your reality. Basically, ignore reality or just let reality be what it is. Let it be an interesting place that's going on like over there. But you
Yeah,
have,
almost disconnect.
yes, you have an alternate spirit reality that you've created out of your own imagination, out of whole cloth, that is going on over here. And that's where your focus is almost all of the time, no matter what's going on in the physical realm. And believe me, you do better at handling every challenge in the physical realm from that place of having exactly what you want in your alternative spirit realm. And here's the thing I'll leave you with. It's your spirit body that has the life. It has the force of life. It's the one that matters, and it animates your physical body. Once it leaves your physical body's not worth a thing. The same thing can be applied to your spirit realm, what's going on in your psyche, your spirit realm, your dream world, the way you see things, choose to see things, animates or affects what's going on in your physical world. And I promise you, your physical world matches what's going on currently in your psyche, unless you've been doing this for a while. And just to put kind of some icing on that, you would not be in the relationship you're in, whether it's good or bad, if your subconscious mind didn't believe 100% that that's the type of relationship you deserve, or that you're supposed to have, or that the role you're playing is supposed to participate in. And you know that's true because there are certain things that if your spouse did it, you'd bail, you'd be gone. But then you see your close friend who doesn't leave when that's happening. She'll stay and stay. And if she does get out of that relationship, she goes right into another one with the same things
Just like that.
happening.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, and that's the same thing like with the employment. Like you might have these horrible situations at work. You're trying to innovate, you're trying to create, and you keep on coming up with these obstacles. You switch jobs, and guess what happens?
Right.
Same obstacles are there. So
Same,
definitely.
I could see other guys making more money doing, like white collar work, but I went from being a painter to being a roofer to being a concrete finisher. Why? Why didn't I get into, sales or pitching something or building, doing wholesale business to business sales? Because at the time, my subconscious mind could only see me as a manual labor. I could be the boss, I could own the company, but I was still a stinking manual labor because that's what my subconscious mind believed about me. And I can tell you exactly why, but I don't want to go into that right now.
Well, we'll have to do episode 2. I think just like for the audience, like to take this, like to take away something here, and relating it back to innovation and innovating on purpose. It's really important that even if you feel like there is no hope and that you're going down these rabbit holes and things are not working out, I beg you to try and connect to those feelings of a better reality to where it works out. And if you do that,
Well
if you
said.
follow what Jeff is saying here, I think you're going to be a lot more successful with your innovation.
And I'll just add this to innovating on purpose. You have the ability to choose your role and tell your subconscious mind what role you want to play. But here's the other part. You have the absolute right to do that. That's the thing that little dirt poor Musa, stupid Musa who just got bamboozled, helped somebody steal all this money and then didn't get any of the returns. Little stupid Musa learned that he had the right to choose the role he played on Earth. And so he changed how he commanded his subconscious mind to set the stage of his life, and it did. So I'll leave you with that just to back up your words, Matt. And I'm so proud of the work you're doing, by the way. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Jeff. And I'm proud of the work that you're doing as well. It's amazing stuff. And I can't wait to dig deeper into your book, get to your training course. There's a lot there to learn. So thank you so much for that. And I'm sure the audience is going to gain a lot from this as well. Just a reminder for everybody, don't forget to go to sultan7secrets.com to pick up your free audio book of Jeff Buehner's book, The Sultan's 7 Secrets. And Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show today, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Matt. Let's do a round 2, and we'll jump into techniques for the people who now have kind of the basic understanding of how this works.
All right, let's do it.
All right, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, you too.
We have made it to the end of another episode. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of things before you go. If you have found value in this episode, I am sure you'll find value in what we have coming up. So please subscribe so you will have access and know when we launch the next episode. Also, leave a review. The more reviews we have, the further our reach becomes, and I truly want this to be heard by as many leaders as possible. Don't hog this all for yourself. I would love to hear your insights on this topic, so meet me on social media at Matt Muller Innovation on LinkedIn and Instagram. And lastly, if you want to learn more about my story and what I can do for you and your company, go to themindfulinnovator.com. I would love to help you innovate on purpose. Until next time, just remember, bring a level of awareness to each conversation, each observation, each moment, and you can create great change in this world. Thank you.